In 2026, scientists discovered that Jupiter is smaller than we thought. That sounds almost harmless. It isn't, because if we got the size wrong on the largest planet in our solar system, after 400 years of observation, after 12 spacecraft, after a probe that's been orbiting it daily since 2016, what else did we get wrong? But here's where it gets worse. Jupiter isn't just large. It is a category of existence that human language wasn't built to describe. You could fit 1,300 Earths inside it. Its mass outweighs every other planet, moon, and asteroid in this solar system, combined twice over, and yet that number still doesn't reach you emotionally. So try this instead. If you removed Jupiter from this solar system tomorrow, every other planet would drift. Mars would wander. Earth's orbit would shift. The asteroid belt would scatter. The entire architecture of our neighborhood in space, built and maintained by one planet's gravity for 4.6 billion years. Scientists weren't prepared for what came next. When Galileo pointed his telescope at Jupiter in 1610, he saw 4 moons orbiting it. He published his findings. The Catholic Church nearly tried him for it. The idea that something in the universe didn't orbit Earth was considered dangerous. 400 years later, we know Jupiter has 115 moons. 115. We are still finding them. And then came the measurement that nobody expected. 5 miles narrower, 15 miles flatter. The planet we thought we knew, the one hanging in our night sky like a king, is physically different from every model we ever built. 5 miles on a planet 89,000 miles wide seems like rounding error, until you understand what it reveals. Jupiter's internal winds, storms drilling 3,000 kilometers into its body, are so powerful they are literally reshaping the planet's mass distribution, changing its gravity field, bending its own shape from the inside. Jupiter isn't a static gas giant sitting quietly in space. It is alive with violence, right now, as you watch this. This is the part nobody talks about. When you look up tonight and find that steady, bright point of light in the sky, you are not looking at a planet. You are looking at a storm that has been raging since before the dinosaurs. A radiation field that would kill you in minutes. A gravitational force that decided which worlds in this solar system got to exist and which ones didn't. That bright point of light is the most dangerous thing you will ever see with your naked eye, and it looks completely peaceful. That is the first lie Jupiter tells you. Imagine falling into Jupiter, not crashing, not landing, just falling endlessly through gas that slowly becomes liquid, through liquid that slowly becomes something that has no name in ordinary physics. The atmosphere simply gets denser and denser and denser. But here's where it gets strange. At a certain depth, under pressure millions of times greater than anything on Earth's surface, hydrogen stops being a gas. It stops being a liquid. It becomes something that conducts electricity like copper wire and flows like water simultaneously. Something that exists nowhere else in the known universe except inside gas giants. Liquid, metallic, hydrogen. Scientists confirmed this in laboratory experiments on Earth, and when the results came back, the room went quiet. Because what they had created, for a fraction of a second, under artificial pressure, was a piece of Jupiter's interior. And then Juno discovered something that overturned 50 years of assumptions. For decades, every model of Jupiter showed the same thing at its center: a dense, solid core, a rocky heart, the anchor of the planet. It made sense. It was mathematically satisfying. It was taught in universities around the world. It was completely wrong. Juno's measurements revealed not a solid core, but a fuzzy one. A diffuse, sprawling region where heavy elements bleed into hydrogen and helium in ways our equations cannot fully describe. Not a heart, more like a wound that never closed. A secret dissolving slowly at the center of the most powerful planet in our solar system. Scientists weren't prepared for what came next. Look upward from that dissolving core, through hundreds of miles of crushing pressure, through layers of metallic hydrogen and liquid gas, and you reach the storms, the Great Red Spot. 400 years. This single storm, wide enough to swallow Earth whole, was raging when Shakespeare was alive, when Newton wrote the laws of physics, when the first American colonies were being settled. It is shrinking. Scientists have watched it contracting for decades, and some predicted it might disappear entirely within our lifetime. But here's the part nobody expected. As the storm shrinks, the winds at its outer edge are getting faster, more violent. As if the Great Red Spot isn't dying, it's concentrating, compressing 4 centuries of fury into a tighter, more dangerous form. And the storms don't stop at the surface. Juno confirmed that Jupiter's atmospheric systems drill 3,000 kilometers down into the planet. Not weather, not clouds. Continent-sized columns of organized violence, penetrating deep into Jupiter's body, actively redistributing its mass, bending its gravity field from the inside. In 2026, scientists confirmed this is physically changing Jupiter's shape. This is the part that should unsettle you. At Jupiter's poles, the storms aren't random. They arrange themselves into perfect geometric formations, pentagons, octagons, stable, symmetrical, mathematically precise cyclone clusters that have held their shape for years. No random atmospheric system does that. No model we have explains it. The universe appears to be doing something deliberate at Jupiter's poles, and we have no idea what. There is something surrounding Jupiter right now that no instrument can fully map. You cannot see it. You cannot feel it. It has no color, no shape visible to the human eye. But if you flew toward Jupiter at this exact moment, in the most advanced spacecraft humanity has ever constructed, it would begin destroying your electronics hours before you got close enough to see the clouds. This is the part where the numbers stop making sense. Jupiter's magnetic field is 14 times stronger than Earth's. That ratio sounds manageable. It isn't. Earth's magnetic field is a gentle, life-giving force. It deflects the solar wind. It keeps our atmosphere from being stripped away. It is, quietly, the reason anything alive exists on this planet. Jupiter's magnetic field does something else entirely. It doesn't protect what's inside it. It weaponizes what's inside it. And then Juno flew through it, and the data came back terrifying. Jupiter's field reaches tens of millions of kilometers into space in every direction. A vast, invisible empire that dwarfs any physical structure in the solar system. If you could see it with your naked eye, standing on Earth right now, it would appear larger than the full moon. Larger, completely invisible, surrounding a planet 600 million kilometers away. Inside that field, Jupiter does something extraordinary. It captures charged particles, protons, electrons, shards of solar wind, and accelerates them. Not gently, not gradually. It flings them to a significant fraction of the speed of light and traps them in radiation belts that orbit the planet like rings of death written in physics. Here's where it becomes personal. For a human being standing inside those belts without protection, death arrives in minutes, not hours, minutes, not from heat, not from pressure, from pure radiation tearing through cellular DNA faster than any biological system can repair it. NASA knew this when they built Juno, so they constructed a titanium radiation vault around its most sensitive electronics. 200 kilograms of metal, the heaviest single component on the entire spacecraft, designed to do one thing: keep the radiation from eating the mission alive. But scientists weren't prepared for what the data revealed. Even with that vault, Juno can only make close passes for a few hours at a time. It dives in, collects data, retreats, like a surgeon who can only operate for minutes before the operating room itself becomes lethal. The Galileo probe, which plunged deliberately into Jupiter's atmosphere in 2003, received a radiation dose equivalent to 25 million dental X-rays before pressure crushed it into nothing. 25 million. Before it was vaporized, before it became part of the planet that killed it. And here is what nobody tells you. Europa Clipper is flying toward this right now, carrying the most radiation-hardened electronics ever built for a planetary mission. Its scientists have spent years plotting its orbit to minimize exposure to the worst radiation zones. Years of careful planning, just to keep a machine alive long enough to do science. What does it say about a place when our greatest engineering achievement must tiptoe around it just to survive? 4.5 billion years ago, something happened that no one saw coming. Jupiter moved, not the subtle drift of orbital mechanics, not the slow waltz of planetary gravity. It plunged inward toward the sun, tearing through the early solar system like a wrecking ball through a city still being built, and nothing that was in its path survived intact. This is the Grand Tack, and scientists believe it explains everything. Jupiter swung inward as far as Mars' current orbit, then Saturn's gravity grabbed it and pulled it back. During that migration, across hundreds of millions of kilometers, it shattered the forming inner solar system. It scattered the building blocks of would-be planets. It pushed material into unstable orbits and left behind a debris field we now call the asteroid belt. But here's what that means. The asteroid belt isn't wreckage from an exploded planet. That's the story we grew up with. The truth is darker. It's the graveyard of worlds that almost formed, planets that were accumulating mass, gaining gravity, growing towards something, and then Jupiter arrived and ended them before they could begin. Mars should be the size of Earth. Jupiter wouldn't allow it. And then scientists realized something that changed the entire picture. Jupiter doesn't just destroy, it also decides what reaches the inner solar system from the outer darkness. Comets, asteroids, rogue objects drifting in from beyond Neptune. Jupiter either absorbs them, flings them into the sun, or redirects them inward toward Earth. In 1994, we watched it in real time. Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9, captured by Jupiter's gravity, torn into 21 fragments. Then, over 6 days, those fragments hammered Jupiter one by one. Each impact left a scar larger than Earth. The energy released was equivalent to millions of nuclear weapons. Scientists weren't prepared for what the images showed. Earth-sized scars on a planet that everyone assumed was too big to scar. If that comet had been redirected toward us instead, we would not be having this conversation. Jupiter giveth, Jupiter taketh away, and it holds the deciding vote on which worlds in this solar system get to continue existing. But here's where it gets extraordinary. Now look at the moons, 115 of them as of 2026. They should feel like a solar system within a solar system, each one a world unto itself. Instead, they feel like prisoners. Io, the innermost large moon, is the most volcanically active body ever discovered, but not because of internal radioactive heat like Earth, because Jupiter is needing it. The tidal forces from Jupiter's gravity flex Io's crust constantly, generating heat through friction, keeping its interior molten, driving eruptions so violent they reshape the surface every few years. Jupiter is literally squeezing the geological life out of it. Europa has an ocean, beneath 10 to 30 kilometers of ice, confirmed through magnetic induction. A liquid water ocean has persisted for billions of years. It may contain more water than all of Earth's oceans, in total darkness, shielded from the radiation above by the ice shell. And then came the 2026 discovery that nobody saw coming. Complex organic molecules, the chemical foundations of life, were delivered to Jupiter's moons at the moment of their formation, not later, not by passing comets, at birth, by the icy bodies that built Jupiter itself 4.6 billion years ago. Jupiter may have seeded its own moons with the ingredients for life before Earth had a single ocean. The prison has always carried the seeds. In 2026, scientists ran the calculations one more time, and the number came back wrong. Jupiter contains 1.5 times more oxygen than the Sun itself. Stop, because this changes everything. The Sun is the origin of this solar system. Everything in it, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in every living thing that has ever existed on Earth, was forged in the nuclear fires of stars, scattered in their deaths, and gathered by gravity into the worlds we know. And Jupiter has more of one of the fundamental elements of biology than the star that created us. This tells scientists something extraordinary about how Jupiter formed. It consumed icy planetesimals, frozen bodies saturated with oxygen compounds, on a scale that staggers imagination. Jupiter didn't just grow, it incorporated the chemistry of existence into its core. Jupiter ate the raw ingredients of life before life knew what it was. But scientists weren't prepared for what that implied. If Jupiter consumed that much oxygen-rich material, and if those same oxygen-rich bodies seeded its moons with organic molecules at formation, then Jupiter didn't just shape the solar system. Jupiter may have written the first chapter of biology in this star system, before Earth existed, before any ocean formed, before a single protein folded in warm water somewhere on a cooling young world. The most violent planet in the solar system may be the reason life exists at all. And then Juno confirmed something that nobody predicted. Jupiter is still changing. Right now, its deep winds are redistributing its mass. Its gravity field is measurably shifting. The planet our models described, the static, stable gas giant, was a fiction. Jupiter has been actively evolving for 4.6 billion years, and it shows no signs of stopping. Juice is on its way. The European Space Agency's mission will reach Jupiter's system in 2031 and spend years orbiting Ganymede, studying its magnetic field, its ocean, its potential as a cradle for life. Europa Clipper is already there, closing in on Europa, scanning its ocean plumes for amino acids. This is the part where science becomes something else entirely. If those plumes contain the molecular signature of biology, if a single instrument on a spacecraft 600 million kilometers from Earth detects the chemical fingerprint of life, everything changes, not just for science, for every philosophical and religious framework humanity has ever built around the question of whether we are alone. Every answer, every prayer, every assumption about our place in the universe, answered by a machine orbiting a moon. Of the most dangerous planet in our solar system, Jupiter has been here longer than life itself. It has watched every mass extinction, every emergence, every tentative moment when life on Earth almost didn't survive. It will still be here when the sun expands and swallows this planet whole. It will still be here long after whatever comes after us has risen and fallen and been forgotten. We named it after a king, but kings die. Jupiter simply endures. And somewhere in the ocean beneath Europa's ice, in absolute darkness, in water that has never seen sunlight, in silence that has lasted 4 billion years, something may already be there. Patient as the void itself, old as the planet that made it, waiting for the moment we finally have the courage to ask.